this morning, directional set we're going to move on to this morning. So far we've done our channel setting, so if you remember from week 1 we went to channel setting, onto brickwork last week, so if you remember the formation of the brickwork, obviously no rows. So directional is really exactly as it says. It's the aim of it is to set in a direction which can actually be any direction. So what you would use it for, so other than obviously brickwork where we were trying to get it, it was all sort of coming back in that direction, but no rows, so easier to dress out. With this it's very similar to the channel, so you may well have rows, and obviously you would use it from a direction. So if you were working on someone that had a very strong parting, or you were working it into a style that you knew you were going to do from a parting, or it was going to be coming over from one side, that's why, bless you, that's why we would use directional over any of the others. So obviously if you want to do it in a certain direction, obviously that's the whole point of it, and it can be any direction, and you can also change direction. So this I've done a little example to show you. What we've done here, you can see the parting is here, and I've set it from that parting, coming over this way, coming over that way, and then through the back we've got it's coming this way, so it's all being set this way. And obviously when we dress that up into what we're doing after, into our vertical roll, you'll notice why. Obviously I've set it in that direction so that the hair's going to be laying in that direction and then coming back on itself. So obviously I've thought about how my final style is going to be, you know, from the way that I've actually set the hair. So obviously that is one example. What you can also do is you can sort of interchange your modes of setting. So you could start off, for instance, say on the parting there I've done sort of 2 rows going either side of the parting in the direction I want to do. What you can also do then is you can do sort of a row of directional in the front, and then you can do brickwork through the back. So you can sort of take bits of both of your formulations and mix them together. So obviously you won't always use one type, so you can see that how you can use a little bit of directional, a little bit of brick, or you could use a little bit of directional and a little bit of channel setting. So you can sort of merge them together to make it how you wanted it. Bearing in mind, obviously, in the directional, if you wanted it from a parting, you could set it directionally through the front, and then the back you may well want to come all back. So obviously a brickwork set is going to fit into that quite nicely. Okay, so that's the next one. I'll pop that there so we can refer back to that. And what I'm going to do is I would normally do, I'm going to use Velcros this morning on dry hair just for the speed. Okay, so it's going to be like a dry set. So, directional. So what we'd say, so say for instance we've got a client who has a very, very strong parting, so we'll go from that. And let's put it this side. So you're working from that is going to be your starting point. Okay. So we're going to come through, and the same as always, bearing in mind you're going to pick up the section of hair that is appropriate for the size of the roller that you're using. Okay, so not too wide, not too deep. With setting, I always think your sectioning is the key, really. If your sectioning is correct, you'll find your roller will sit back on itself much more happily, obviously. You know, nice clean sections, and as you can see there, that roller is sitting nicely on the base. Okay, it's not dragging, we're not having any root drag there, it's sitting exactly where it should do. And I think that is really, you know, one of the most important things, other than tension obviously, is picking the right size of section to start with. You can see these are all going to be going in the same direction. So the beauty of this is sort of, it's quite a free way of setting directional, because obviously there is no rules to it really. You can go in any direction. Generally you would work in the same direction, because obviously you would be defeating the object of doing what you're doing. So you're going to be working pretty much in a direction, but it can be any direction. If you were putting your hair up and it was going to be on the top of the head, if you know what I mean, you could direct it from the bottom to the top up, if you know what I mean. So there's no right or wrong way to do it.
There's a man waiting to come in, Rachel.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Yeah, I used it last week. Can you just put that on the side for me? Is that okay? Thank you. Just in the middle of the demo. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I need to sneeze.
Hmm?
I need to sneeze.
So sad.
So you can see, so my tension, you can see I'm slightly pushing that section forward as I roll it down. And that is so that when you look on the side, so that the roller sits directly on that section.
So would you use the partner all the way down the back of the head, Rachel?
What, this
You
one
said
here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd set it all
I'll turn
that
it right
side.
round in a minute.
Right,
I'll just do
okay.
this row and then I'll turn it round so you can see the back of it. So I mean, really, what you're actually required to do with this set over the others is actually think about your finished style. So right up to now, sort of you've really sort of set to create curl or to create volume. Now you might well be doing both of those things, but you will be thinking about where you're positioning those rollers. So obviously you're thinking about your final look in the end, if you know what I mean. So obviously when we go on to the second demo in this session and I'll show you how to do your vertical rolls, you'll see how that is relevant, because obviously that hair is going to be going in the direction that I've set it. Okay. So you can see, if I turn that right round, you can see from the back, turn it, take her off there. So you can see that section really is run all the way along the front of that hairline. Okay. So what we're going to do now from the other side, I'm going to go in the opposite direction, so I'm coming the other side of the parting. So obviously, you know, by now you should be quite. I did notice actually last week a change in how you were putting your rollers in. So, you know, from the first week to last week, there was a vast improvement, wasn't there, of how your rollers were going in. They were sitting beautifully. I think you were getting a much greater understanding of your sectioning for starters, how you hold that roller, what angle you project it from the head. It is all quite important. So obviously when I move on to the next section,
It's not warm right
you can see, so from the parting I've got these this side is coming this way, from this parting we're going that way. So obviously what I could do there, so I've got two options now at the back here. I could do another row of directional, following what I've already done there. So I could do exactly the same row like I did on there, and then decide what I'm going to do to the back. Or you could go in straight from that row into a brickwork set. Or obviously you could think, right, I'm going to be putting that hair up into a vertical row. I want the whole of that, the back of that hair, to come over this way. Okay, so we could come along and put some rollers in, going this way. So what you'll find today, as you look around as you're all working, you may well all be using a completely different formulation of how you're going to be putting your rollers into that hair. You know, you'll know how you're going to, you know, your envision of what you want it to look like in the end. So like I say, that may well look completely different for all of you. So as I say, it's a much freer way of setting, in the way that the formation you can choose where you want those rollers to be, as long as it's obviously making sense to you and what your final style is.
I can't see now.
Again. And what I noticed as well from last week is you were all much better at getting your ends nicely in. We didn't have so many buckled ends, did we? Okay, so you can see they're all following the same direction. So you can put them at any angle, facing any way. Too much down that one, haven't I? A prime example, guys, of what happens when you put too much hair on your roller. It hangs off the other side. Okay. What you'll find is also, like, these rollers here are sort of almost defeating gravity a little bit, so what you can do is use a little clip to hold them into place if you need to. Okay, you can use obviously a little pin or one of your little silver clips. So you can see, let's turn that around now. So you can see this section here is all going to be going there, so moving through that back section I could go all the way through there and follow that same pattern, so that's all that hair at the back is going to be travelling in the same direction. Or obviously, like I say, you could then go in from there with brick if you wanted it all to come backwards. You could then, you know, obviously your brickwork is giving you a direction still, you'll all obviously be setting it
So
backwards.
if you wanted to do a beehive, it'd be best if you
Yeah,
did brick.
yeah, you could do, yeah. I mean, yeah, most definitely. Obviously,
Yeah.
if you were to do directional going back, obviously you're gonna have partings to compete with. So brick would be far more effective in your dressing out. Yeah, it would make your life a lot easier. So, is everyone sort of clear of that? Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
That's lovely, thank you. I